Hey, how you doing? Welcome back to tutorial number 4, where we are going to be creating something called scenes, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. But basically, if you are new to the channel, please be sweet and click that subscribe button so that you can stay notified of when I produce future videos. And if you need to just pick up where we left off yesterday, well, this is following the actual videos that are available on the Solar2D website. So we are going to just quickly jump over to the left hand side screen now. So picking up, we're now on chapter 4, creating scenes, and in this quick tutorial today, we're going to do a game flow, scene management, making a menu, and chapter concepts. Now, very quickly, the concept of what we are doing today, at the moment, all our code so far is on one page, and that's fine. But in real life, when you create a game, you will have lots of different Lua files involved, and there needs to be something that organizes the management of those different files and the different code that you've got on those files, because sometimes you need to talk from one Lua file to another. So let's put this into a scenario that you can follow. If you've ever played something like a hidden rooms game, where you've got, or an escape room game on a mobile app, and you're in one room and you've got to find things to get yourself out the door, that one room that you're playing in is a scene. Okay, in there you might find objects and trinkets and things that you need to store to help you escape a future room. So you might have something like a backpack where you can put items in, you're going to have puzzles to solve, and when you're done and completed with that, you get the door open and you transition into the next room. That is moving from one scene to another. It's physically a Lua file and then another Lua file. Okay, so we have to have a way of looking after all the memory that the data uses on the phone, because otherwise, if we had like 100 rooms and we kept all 100 rooms at any one time in memory on the device would crash and melt down. So by having this thing called a composer act a bit like a godly being within our game to manage and control all of these Lua files and all the code and all the objects, and maybe pass your scores from one scene to another, or allow you to take your backpack with all your goodies that you found in scene A to scene B and that kind of thing. We need something to be able to control that, which means not only do we need to use something called a composer, but we also need to have a little bit more scene management. And that means on each of those .lua files, we need to be a bit more structured about how the code is written, prepared, displayed, and removed from screen, so that when we transition to the next scene, we've got some admin tidying up going on in the back end, and everything is nice and organized and everybody knows what's going on. So if you actually think of this whole process as a theatre production, you'll be able to use that metaphor when we work with our scene template in just a moment. So going back to our left hand side screen right now, it's going to tell us that in this game we're now going to create 3 pages. We're going to have a menu, a game, and a high score. Okay, so scene management. First of all, what are we going to do here? So whilst we split up and move all of our code into these 3 different pages, we are going to create some errors. So when we are, for the first time really, we're going to start looking at this the console here. We've not really had to do a lot with this so far in the past. Let me just move these screens down. But at the moment, as you can see, our game is loaded to whatever state we've just left it in, and so everything is hunky-dory. But this is now going to start reporting errors to us, problems, and all sorts of things that we're going to have to work out and solve. Okay, so going back to our instructions. Okay, so within your project folder, we want to make a copy of main.lua, and then we're going to rename it. So we're basically going to make a backup or a future copy of our code, so that when we split all our code up, we are not going to screw it up and never have access to it again. Easiest way to do that is to click on these little buttons in your Visual Studio, right click on the file name, copy, and then paste. And then I'm just going to rename that main underscore original. Okay, you could also, just to throw a little another idea towards you, you could go into your Corona projects, find your game, and there's the files there, and you could obviously copy and paste and do things that way as well. Okay, So there we are in our main original, so we don't need that. We're going to keep that as a future reference so that we can use it. So it does go on to say down here, don't panic a little bit about that. And then we're in our main.lua file. Now, main.lua is a bit like the index.html page on a website. So if you've ever done any website design before, when you open up a website in a browser, there's got to be a way for the website to tell the browser which page to put on the screen first, and that's your home page. So automatically a browser is designed to search for an index.html page. Lua works the same way with a main.lua file. Okay, so when we run a Lua game in the simulator or on a mobile app or a tablet or whatever, the game needs to know where to start, and the very first file it's always going to attempt to display on screen is a main.lua file. So no matter what we use this page for, a main.lua file has to physically exist within the game, otherwise it's going to crash because it doesn't know what to do. After we've done this, we can call any page we want, or any file we want, or any scene we want, they're all the same thing, any name under the sun, because we can refer to it, but it has to start with a starting location, and that's what a main.lua file is all about. So that's what I think we're going to fiddle around with right now. We've got a backup, that's fine. So in your chosen text says to open the main.lua file, which we've done. Erase all of your previous code. Remember you still have the copy to work for later, that's fine. So in this we're going to replace it with this code. So inside my main.lua file, it basically says delete everything. So I am going back up to the top and I'm going to paste this. So we're going to bring in the composer library, which is our godly being that's going to control our entire environment. We're going to hide that status bar. I don't know if it's showing at the moment. No, it's not. Of course it's not. We've already hidden it. And then we've just got some code in there that we are already using before. And if you look at this, we've actually got a piece of code here now saying composer, go to scene menu. Okay, so it's now going to look for a menu scene, and it's going to cause an error because if we remember down here, let me just bring this out, there is no menu scene right now. We need to create a file called menu.lua, and that's what that word menu then refers to. So it's trying to go to something at the moment that doesn't exist, which is why we have an error shouting at us at the moment. Okay, so all is good. Right, so let's inspect these commands which we've just explained, so that's fine. So we need to get the seed, we've done that already, that's good. Just one more command and then we've finished with main.lua. The composer go to scene menu command takes advantage of the first line where we load into the composer, that's fine. So by doing so, we can now use this composer scene to go to a different scene, which is just explained. As mentioned earlier, each of our scenes must contain, so we need to have 3 other files called menu, game and high scores, that's fine. So for this command you don't need to include the .lua, you just have to use the name menu, which is what we've done, in quotation marks. That's all good. So that's it for the main.lua file. Remember to save your changes. Unlike the previous main.lua file, it's short and sweet because we're only using it to initialize the composer, which basically means the only reason this file now exists is to make sure a composer library exists within our environment. We tell it to remove the status bar from all of our in-game, so it doesn't mean that we have to repeat that code now on every single Lua file because we've done it right at the beginning. We've got a random seed number generator, obviously there's a reason for that, that's fine, and then we're going to go straight to a menu scene. So what's it going to tell us to do next? The menu scene. Let's just bring that on the page. It's time to create our first scene, woohoo! Okay, so we're going to need to download the source files. I've already done that, so I'm just going to grab it and open it. Extract all. Probably going to extract it again because I think I've just done this in the previous. There we go, let me go back to our downloads. And you can see that I've extracted it. There we go. So we're going to need our scene template. Okay, let me just make sure that is all we need for now. Yes, it is. So I'm going to copy, right click and copy, and then I'm going to my documents, Corona projects, Star Explorer, and then I'm pasting. So now we should be able to open that file. Let's go back to our code. And there's our scene template file now. So I'm going to close this, we don't need it, and we're going to open scene template. Okay, So once you have the scene template, let's rename it to menu. So this is how we're going to create that menu file. Now I'm going to keep that there just to make it easier for you guys in a minute. So I would suggest you copy instead and paste it and then rename to menu that way. Okay, so that's how we create our menu file. So then if we need to go back and look at it before we've got loads of code on there confusing things, we've got an original version as well. That's fine. Okay, so we're inside our menu. Okay, let's make it available on screen. So what do we have going on here? So this is just literally a copy now of that scene template. In fact, let's work on that just to talk you through it. Okay, if you need to at any time, you can refer back to it. So we have got the composer. So now that, again, we're telling this file to talk to God, as it were, and we're going to create an object called a scene so we can deal with it. At the very bottom, when we're finished, we're going to return that scene to the composer, which makes it basically understand it's part of the bigger picture. So this is how it does its management. So everything between the opening scene at the bottom and the lower scene is now involved. And here at the very bottom, we can see now that we're putting an event listener called create, show, hide and destroyed into that object. Okay, and that means now God is aware of everything that takes place in the code in these 4 sections. So we've got an area outside, so this bit of code up here at the top, lines 6 through to 13. This is outside our scene phases, and then we've got 4 phases. We've got create, show, hide, and then at the bottom we've got destroy. Okay, and inside show and hide we actually have them split down twice again as well. So we've got 2 sections. We've got part 1, which is it will show on screen, and then we've got a did show on screen, and then it will be hidden from screen, and it did hide from screen. Okay, so what am I talking about? So if you remember at the beginning of the video, I said to you, think of the metaphor of a theatre production. So we have create. Create is like the actors and the stage hands getting prepared. The actors are putting on their makeup, getting into their costumes. They are being created as characters for the play. Then we've got the show section where it says will show on screen. Okay, so think of the actors now standing on the stage behind the curtain. They're fully, they're fully in costume. They're fully in character. They have been created, but now they're ready and they will show on the stage temporarily when that curtain opens up. Okay, then they did show on the screen, so now they can be seen by the audience. They've gone out, the curtain's been pulled back, they're performing, they're doing that job, they're acting, they're doing whatever it is that they need to do. And then in a moment when their moment of fame and glory has finished, they will be hidden by the curtain coming back across, and then they're going to be, they were hidden. Okay, so they will be hidden, they're preparing to walk off stage, and then they've been hidden from the audience. And then last of all, they are destroyed. They go back to their changing room and they take up all their makeup and the character no longer exists, and they undo everything they did in create. Okay, now the only other thing that we've got here, so that's how those 4 scenes play out, and they have those 2 different phases. And then you've got this section up here that I said is outside those scenes and phases. What that bit here does mean, it means it's inside the composer, but it doesn't necessarily have to be part of the actor. So this could be, for example, the director standing there barking orders. Now he's never going to be on the stage and he never has to get into costume, but he still has to give commands, and those commands could affect anybody at any time, regardless of the scene or the phase that they're in. So therefore they need to live outside of the actual individual scene sections. Now if you think of the composer and this scene as a big old cardboard box, the whole entire play is one big cardboard box. Anything going in that right now can be accessed. Okay, so anything outside the code where I'm highlighting these 10 to 13 and the director's barking orders, everybody can access it. Then we've got another little box called create, and another box called show, another box called hide and destroy. So these are now little sections inside the composer. Okay, and anything inside the create scene will be able to hear the commands from the director, but whatever it's doing in its own little box won't affect anything that's going on in show, hide or destroy. So it's like a way of segmenting and organizing the whole entire production. All right, so let's just get rid of that now and bring back up our menu. Okay, so we are now going to start doing something to this menu. So let's have a look what they want us to do. Scene setup, accessible code, that kind of just explains everything that I have got going on. So first of all, we're going to create those instructions. So the director is now barking orders outside all of the scenes so anybody can hear them, and those instructions are two functions. One of them is go to the game and one of them is go to the high scores page. Okay, and all they do when they're called, when go to game is called somewhere down in this code, it's going to literally bring in the composer, which is up there, and its library knows to send it to the page game.lua or the high scores.lua file. Okay, so it's just a menu navigation. That's all we've got going on here. Okay, so down here, this just explains a little bit about the create, show, hide and destroy, which I've just talked you through. Now inside create on line 24, there's our function being created and its first view. That's fine. So basically this is a way of sort of telling the display what to do. Okay, it does explain it in a little bit more detail down here, what is going on. It's about basically organising things that can be going onto the view of the screen. But what we're going to do is we're going to create our background. So these are the actors in the changing rooms being made up into character. So we are in the stage of creating our interface or our game area. So we're going to have title. Now at the moment, from our source files that we just downloaded, we are going to go and grab the background image and the title image. And we've got a play button, which is going to be, oh, I can't. There we go. And we've got our high scores button. So we're going to create all of these buttons and we're going to add listeners to the two buttons. So let's just go and grab those two files as well. So there we go. So now we've got our creation. We've got the actors getting ready, being created. So in this way, we've got a background being created, we've got our title, we've got a button, two buttons, and we're actually adding event listeners. The only thing, if I hit save now, it's going to cause an error because background PNG and title PNG are not currently in our game. So we can check that by clicking up here. We haven't got a title PNG or a background. So let's quickly go out and grab those. So this is our game in our downloads where we unzip that file. We have got title, PNG and background. So I'm just going to copy and go back. Sorry, there we go. Hit the wrong button and paste. Oh, background must have I might have already done that already. That's fine. There's our background. There's our title. They now exist. That's fine. Okay, so when we save this, okay, and now we look at our game and refresh, we've got everything on screen. So very quickly, behind the scenes, you guys can't really see, but we're actually on the menu.lua file right now. So I'm going to just show you a little something to help you understand what's going on, because they don't really go into it too far in these instructions just here. Let's clear this simulator. So we've got a nice blank canvas, okay, and I'm just going to open up the menu, main file, and in here I am just going to do a little line for printing a message to the composer so that we know that this file has been started and finished. So so we are going to type the word print, so it's like printing to screen or the composer a message. Open bracket, so obviously it's put in a default bracket straight away for us. Then our text in the double quotes, and I'm just going to say that this is the main.lua file access so that you can see. So I'm going to hit save. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to close, and actually right at the very top of our game, okay, before anything else is happening, I'm going to print the menu.lua file accessed, and I'm going to save. Okay, and now if we go back to our, I've lost my composer's console. There we go. What we can see here now is when I hit save, let me just clean the screen again. It's going to happen very quickly. But when where's my game? I'm going to refresh. And you can see instantly the game's refreshed, it's loaded in the game. That's what this is all about, loading in the game. And then you can see that the main.lua file was accessed, and then the menu file, so that we know where we are at any one given time, okay? And I've got a tutorial that I've done ages ago that explains how to work with the create scene file and debug and test and track where you are a lot more. So I'll put a link up there because I go over other concepts and things that might be useful for you to learn. Okay, so coming back down here. So now we know that this is working. We've got our nice Explorer title, but obviously we haven't programmed the buttons to do anything, which is why we're getting the errors. So they know something's happening because I just clicked on it, but it's like, well, what, you know, I know you're clicking on me, but what do you want me to do? There's no instructions. That's why we're getting that error right now. Okay, so moving further on. Oh, and that's it. That is actually all we need to do. So obviously in the next next chapter, we are going to be coding what happens when we click go to game, because go to game and go to high scores, nothing happens at the moment because we haven't coded it. So that's quite a quick and easy way of doing it. So all I'm going to do now as well, just to help tidy up things and prepare, is going back up to here. It says we're going to need a menu, a game and high scores. Just to make my life a little bit easier, I'm going to grab that template. We've got our menu, so I'm going to copy. I'm going to paste it twice because we need 2 more files. Paste and paste. And then we are going to call one game. So rename that to be game, which is just a copy of our template at the moment. And we're going to rename that one high scores. Scores. There we go. Okay, so now we have all of our files existing, even though we've done nothing with them. There we are, that's it from this video today. So make sure you subscribe, and I will see you on chapter 5 in just a moment.